Today, we're diving into one of the most stunning underdog stories in the history of international sports. We're talking about an impossibly steep mountain, a single moment of absolute madness, and a legacy that has kind of haunted a nation ever since. It's an explainer that really proves how quickly a sports dynasty can crumble and just how incredibly hard it is to stay at the summit once you finally get there.
Australia hadn't lost to New Zealand in 54 years. On a balmy night in Brisbane, that all changed. 18 years later, the Kiwis are still chasing their way back to the top. Welcome to Flop Files. Section 1. The 54-Year Shadow. To truly grasp the absolute magnitude of what happened, we really have to look at the sheer weight of history. Just think about that number for a second. 54. Pause and let that sink in. For 54 years, across multiple generations of players, coaches, and die-hard fans, New Zealand had not won a World Cup match against Australia. Imagine walking onto a field knowing your country hasn't beaten the team standing right across from you in the sport's biggest tournament since before you were even born. It's like a giant psychological wall. Tracing it back, Rugby League first hits New Zealand in 1907. By the inaugural World Cup in 1954, the stage is supposedly set for a great international rivalry. But decade after decade, it was exactly the same story. Fast forward to the year 2000, New Zealand makes it all the way to the World Cup final, only to just be crushed again by the Australian Kangaroos. So by 2004, the Kiwis were practically drowning in decades of dominance. The Kangaroos had won 9 of the previous 12 tournaments, including 6 in a row. It was Goliath, and David didn't even have a slingshot.
Section 2. Spark before the fire. But as with any great sports story, right before the climax, you start to feel the tremors. The tectonic plates of International Rugby League were shifting. Contrast the Kangaroos' legendary dominance with what happened at the 2005 Tri-Nations in England. The Kiwis absolutely stunned Australia 24-0 in that final. But the most fascinating part? Masterminding the Kiwis' upcoming 2008 World Cup campaign alongside legend Stephen Kearney was Wayne Bennett. Yes, Wayne Bennett, the former Australian coach who literally oversaw that 2005 Kangaroo loss, was now in the Kiwi camp, actively plotting against his own country. Talk about a plot twist.
Section 3. The Brisbane Miracle.
So, the stage is set. November 22nd, 2008. Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. You've got over 50,000 screaming fans packed into an arena that sold out months in advance. The tension is palpable. The bookmakers gave the Kiwis virtually zero chance. They were offering staggering odds of more than 20-1 on a New Zealand win by 13 points or more, and paying over $6 just to win the game at all. And honestly, it made sense. Australia hadn't lost a single match to anyone since 2006. In the group stage of this very tournament, they'd already brushed New Zealand aside 30-6. The script felt completely written.
And early on, that script played out exactly as expected. By the 15th minute, Darren Lockyer and David Williams had already scored, putting Australia up 10-0. It looked like a bloodbath was brewing. But then, Jeremy Smith goes on this barnstorming run and Jerome Rapati crosses the line. Suddenly, the gritty Kiwis are fighting back. Lockyer manages to score again before the half, but at the siren, it's a terrifyingly tight 16-12. New Zealand was bleeding for sure, but they were definitely not broken.
Now, the second half is where legends are born. In the 47th minute, Lance Ohia steps past Lockyer and scores, taking the lead for New Zealand 18-16. Suncorp Stadium is in absolute disbelief. The Kangaroos are getting desperate. They're throwing everything they have at the Kiwi defense, but Israel Folau was held up over the line. The suspense is just agonizing as we creep closer and closer to a 60th minute mark that would completely define a generation of the sport.
If you're enjoying this documentary, subscribe to Flop Files and share this video with a sports fan. We uncover the stories behind the world's greatest sporting moments and biggest comebacks. And then, it happened. The 60th minute. Australian fullback Billy Slater fields the kick and darts toward the touchline. Dangerously flirting with the sideline and rapidly running out of room, he panics. In a moment of sheer brain explosion, Slater throws a desperate pass back over his head. He doesn't even look. And standing right there, literally waiting for the gift of a lifetime, is New Zealand's Benji Marshall. Marshall scoops it up and waltzes over the line for what had to be the easiest try of his entire career. The Kangaroos' momentum instantly and completely shattered.
Australia desperately tried to hit back, but the tide had turned forever. Following a super dramatic penalty try awarded to Ohia in the 70th minute, Adam Blair sealed the whole shebang in the 75th. The final siren wailed, 34-20. The unthinkable, totally impossible upset was complete.
Suncorp Stadium was just stunned into silence, save for the euphoric Kiwi players celebrating out on the pitch.
The global press recognized the absolute enormity of this moment right away. The Guardian famously dubbed it the most significant upset in the history of international rugby league. It was so wild that the Australian coach, Ricky Stewart, famously verbally attacked officials at his hotel the next morning and eventually resigned. The Kiwis had achieved the ultimate miracle. But miracles, well, they're incredibly hard to replicate, aren't they?
Section 4. The crushing come down. We've got to pull the rug out from under the celebration now, because this is where the brutal reality of trying to maintain greatness really sets in. Winning the crown is one thing. Wearing it is an entirely different beast. Look at this scoreline from the 2013 World Cup final, 34-2. Ouch. 5 years after their ultimate triumph, the Kiwis faced Australia again, this time on UK soil, and the ghosts of the past returned with a vengeance. Billy Slater and the Kangaroos were out for blood, and they systematically dismantled New Zealand, taking their trophy back and leaving the Kiwis absolutely devastated.
That crushing 2013 defeat kicked off just an exhausting string of near misses. Now, New Zealand did briefly taste glory again when they secured the official world #1 ranking in 2015 after a brilliant Anzac Test victory. But in the major tournaments, the ones that really mattered, they continually fell short. Bitter quarterfinal exits and agonizing heartbreak at the 2022 World Cup proved that despite having immense talent, that 2008 magic was slipping further and further into the past.
Section 5. The 2026 redemption shot.
But hey, the story of the Kiwis isn't over yet. Let's look out at the horizon, where a pretty incredible opportunity is brewing to finally exorcise the demons of the last 18 years. Because the 2026 tournament is being hosted in the Southern Hemisphere, the Kiwis gain automatic qualification. They get to play in highly familiar Pacific conditions, and they'll be drawing on the massive energy of their homegrown fans. It's a profound logistical and psychological advantage, a real tangible chance to finally reclaim that throne.
For one night in Brisbane, New Zealand, did something nobody thought possible. 18 years, one crushing final defeat, and a string of near misses later, the Kiwis are still chasing that same feeling. In 2026, on home turf, they get another shot at history. Thanks for watching Flop Files.